And just a moment. Okay, so it's recording. Everything is good. So I'm back. So what I have here, as you can see, so we have the shipment arrives, and as the shipment arrives, it goes through several processes. We're going to read it now, and then it goes to the stocks. It doesn't have any kind of very what they call it, the verification or the decision variables here. There's nothing, but it shows me the beginning of how it starts as a shipment arrives. Now, the question is that why they didn't put a circle here and a circle there? And the reason for that is that this is not the beginning of the process. It's the continuation of a process that was before it. And that's why they had kept this triangle. And there was another triangle on the other side, which we cannot see now. And this is why you can see that there is a triangle, which means there is a connection there. And this triangle, which is not vertical or horizontal, it's vertical like that, which means stocks and goods. It means storage. It means storage. Now, this shape could change from one company to another company. The main thing that you need to know are the rectangular ones and the circle ones and the rhombus shape. Okay, so flowcharts are really good. They're important. They help a lot. So you can know, you can analyze. Let me say, you can analyze. It makes your life easier. You can also control processes. Flowcharts just makes life easier. And when we take, so if I go here and look at this toolbox, so this toolbox tells you that, well, start and stop looks like a circle or an oval shape. When you see a shape which looks like that, not exactly oval shape, the reason is that the tool, the software that we used to use before did not have an exact oval shape. It was very difficult to draw that in some old software, and this is why sometimes you have shape which look very strange, like the one that we show here. Transportation, if you have a big arrow, not the normal flow line arrow, okay, this one has something to do with transmission. If it has something to do with data, operation, usually it's not usually, it's always the rectangular one. Sometimes you have circle ones, but it is always that you're going to have the rectangular ones. Decision variables using this shape. Input output, this is confusing, and with more examples you may find out what that input and output means. When you talk about raw materials, for example, you're going to talk about this kind of shape. Now, measurement, which has a square which is different than the rectangular one, it is called measurement. Again, this is not very popular. What I'm trying to say, there are popular ones. So this is popular, this is popular. Of course, the flow line, the storage, it is used. Decision. Other than those, these are more used in places where we have some kind of operation of shifting some goods from one place to another. You're going to have the others. Of course, the delay is used if there's a delay, and you need to put this. But from my experience, we've been working with ministries and Yokogawa, Bahrain Society of Engineers, some architectural offices in Bahrain. They never use those. Okay, they use the main ones which are simple and straightforward. So looking at one of the processes that we have, for example, start, here he's talking about the fleet analysis, where we use some data. I'm going to read it. Fleet analysis utilizes data warehouse reports to create and distribute a selection matrix. And it goes from one process to another. as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And after you do the whole process, you want to check if you fix the problem and you didn't fix the problem. Still failing, that means you have a problem. Do the whole process again. Put a person who's responsible, assignee, performs detailed analysis of failure. He investigates investigation findings. The assignee reports the results to the FRB, the board, and they're going to monitor it, and then they're going to check again. If it still fails, they put another assignee and they work like that. Now, it could be that it's not failing, and things are better. So now you need to go to number 9. This is not correct. It's like that, where you categorize the failure, you determine the required action. Determine the required corrective action, because you're saying that I found out the solution that doesn't make it fail. So you have it here, and then you're going to monitor everything till the end. And start and end, they have the same shape. Some flow diagrams, they prefer to use something like that, but this is not used in most of the places that I went to. It's just very confusing to use pictures which are not standards. So don't worry about them. So the main ones, again, that I go back to are the operations. You see now, I'm going to fix these. The reason that things change from one place to another, and here, this is a process or an operation. Okay, and a process and operation, that means something is happening. And this oval shape, I'll put an oval shape better, where I will say that is the start and the end. So and here I can say that these are the main process chart symbols that are well used. Sometimes it becomes more complicated, where you try to put the process in what way. For example, description of process, you put all the processes that you have. And when you put all of your processes, now you are identifying that this process, is it an operation, or is it a transport, or it is an inspection? And if there's any delay for any part of these processes, and if there's a process where you're going to wait because you're going to go to the storage, or if there's a delay. Now, this kind of process, it is usually very complicated, and you will find it more popular in those people who study logistics management. There's a specialization called logistics management, and these people, they study the details of these. For us, I don't think so. We need to go to the details of that. We need to understand mainly, I mean, the process maps and how simple it is being drawn. And I'm going to show you example. But this is an example which is very complicated that I don't like to go through. Examples that you usually have is something like that, very simple. Okay, very simple, as you can see here. However, in the PowerPoint, I don't like those ones in the PowerPoint. So I'll try to show you something that we had done for BSE, Bahrain Society for Engineers. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Okay, so Bahrain Society of Engineers. So that is Bahrain Society of Engineers. We did this presentation, oh sorry, we did this work long time back. Let me see what I have here. I can see no process maps. Oh my God, I think I opened something different. All what you can see here is mainly it is the written part, not the part which has the process maps. So let me look at a place different than Bahrain Society of Engineers. You see here, Bahrain Society Civil Aviation Affairs. This is an architecture company. This is Ernst & Young, one of the big business firms in the world. What else? And QPC is a center as well. Let me see CAA training here if we have something that I can show. I want a good example. I don't want these examples. Okay, so let's see the subcontracting procedure. Subcontracting procedure is a contract. You can see that was in 2007. My God, life runs. My God, 13 years, 14 years. La ilaha illallah. Okay, so the subcontracting procedure is a very simple problem. It has some continuation, but I don't think so it's appearing here in the Internet Explorer. So subcontracting, that means I'm building a home. While I'm building a home, I have a contract between me and the customer. As an engineer, an architecture engineer office, I would like to subcontract the electrical and mechanical drawings. I don't want to do it, or I don't have time to do it. And because I don't have time to do it, I'm going to subcontract. I need to subcontract the electrical and mechanical drawings. And the first part I'm going to do is what? Is to request for a proposal to subcontract. So I'm going to tell the people, I'm going to tell the contractors, the electrical and mechanical contractors. So I'm requesting a proposal to subcontract the required drawings verbally or through an email mentioning the details of the job. So that's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to do this job, I need two forms. That is one form, and that is another form. What do we mean by these forms? I'm using something. It's not just an email I'm sending. I need to make the work organized. So work organized step by step. But it organizes for me who are the people I'm going to contact. So it's written here, approved supplier list, and you already know the story of the approved supplier list. So I have an approved supplier list where I'm going to select from them to send my proposal, or to request from them the proposal. And I also have a checklist which tells me what do I need to include in the details of the job, so that when I send a request for them for the proposal, I did not miss anything. Like imagine that I miss some details because I don't have a checklist, and then you're going to tell the contractor, oh la, sorry wallah, I forgot to include that in my contract. Khalas. If you do not include it, that means it's going to be on your cost. So it's important to have this checklist. And of course, you're going to receive a proposal, and after you receive a proposal, now you need the executive director approval. So this is a decision. If it does not approve it, we're going to, of course, receive another proposal. And of course, if it is approved, yes, then we are going to sign the contract. Okay, now sign the contract is a final process. So I may need to include here, I cannot draw here, but I need to include here an arrow and put end. Okay, put an end in an oval shape just to show that this is the end of the process. So that is an example that you can see here. And just to get an idea also of something else, this is the approved supplier registration process. So there's another process to have the approved supplier list, where it says that request to add supplier to approved supplier list. Yani, I'm in the market and I found out that there's a new supplier. Is that supplier satisfactory to my based on my my criteria or not? So I want to request to add the supplier to the approved supplier list. I'm going to fill in the ASL approved supplier list form, and this is the number of the form. And you can see the forms are different, huh? They have the different shape. This is the shape of a form. And then it's going to go to the executive director approval, the ED approval. Now the ED approval, he's going to review the form of the new approved supplier, to approve them to be an approved supplier. No with no comments, or refusal, reply with an apology, or add to the supplier list. So that is a process of how to approve new suppliers. What else do we have? I think so. We already went through this. And this one is, I don't want to go through this, okay, because it's something different. Okay, so that's the process. Now, what is the checklist that I had told you about for the approved supply checklist form? Well, I have a checklist which tells you that this approved supplier list, do they have a good service or not? What do I mean by good service? The supplier should be timely and punctual to the dates as agreed in the proposal. So yes, representation and interaction with the client, good. Compatibility of software, well, they are compatible, and maybe you want to write a remark. There's something there, I'm not sure. The quality of drawings, they have very good drawings according to standards. مثلا, clarity in look and details, good. Specification limits, I'm very happy. Should have more than 15 years experience. No, they have only 10 years of experience. Okay. For example, I'm just saying examples. Internationally recognized corporation, no, it is not internationally recognized. It is a national company. And you're going to write the name here with your comments. And your comments, you're going to say, well, this contractor has all the required okay, not has all the required, satisfies most of the criteria to be approved. And after you write that, you have it is approved or not. Now, that is an approved checklist form in which it is, for example, approved, the date, and this is by the ED, and then he's going to sign here on the end. Now, this is a form that I just filled in, but this is part of what? Part of what we have just said, that this is part of a subcontracting procedure. Now, this procedure could be written, but we are showing it as a process map, as a flow chart. And the flow chart just makes life easy and what should I say? Easy to understand. We can see step by step what is happening. It is visually acceptable. And maybe engineers, they also love things that are very visual and they can see it step by step, having clear processes of approval and what forms that they are going to use and so on. So that is a good example for the DTEB for some kind of process maps that we have here. We can also go for more and more details if you want to see here. ما يفتح. Okay, it didn't open. I wanted to show you the internal audit process map. It was a very good process map, but it didn't open for some reason that I don't know why. I think so. I already opened several ones. I don't need to open more and more. There are ones for Yokogawa, but should I open it, or is it good enough? I think it's good enough. I'm just looking at the names, and I'm holding myself not to open more because I already showed you some examples. I want to go faster through the processes. So that is a kind of a process map of how it could be drawn. Process maps just makes life easier. Actually, there's one of the process maps that I can show you here. We just finished a process map at the level of the college, and it's a very complicated one. So I just wanted to show you because it will scare you for a moment. Hopefully I can get the process map because there are many details here. Ah. I cannot see it. Consultation. No. It's okay, I cannot find it, and I cannot remember where did I keep it actually. I just forgot. Okay, so no worries about that. I just wanted to show you that process maps could be very complicated, and it has shapes that are very scary. And because when we showed it to the faculty members, they were just worried. عموما, we finished with the process map. Process map was something straightforward, and I already started with something related to the check sheet, which I could refer to as the checklist. And as you can see here, we already know what is the check sheet. And check sheet, you just Google it, and you will have examples all over the place. And when you go to take your car to a car service or shop, and very clearly that they have the items here, and under each item, of course, they have how much does it cost, and he's going to click. Of course, he's going to not click, he's going to tick what items you want to clean the شو يسمونها الماكينة. Okay, the engine, you want to clean the engine, you want to polish your car, you want blah blah, and then they're going to put the cost 15 BD, 20 BD, 35 BD, and then they calculated, well, this is this much. Okay, so that is kind of a check sheet. The check sheet also has, when you if you go to do some kind of a car service where you're going to leave your car, you will find within the check sheet they also put some marks on that car, that there's a scratch here, there's a bent whatever here, خفسة, there's another scratch here, the window is broken. So why do they do this? Because they're going to let you sign under it later that you entered your car to our shop to do some kind of a car service. However, your car had all of this problems that we are not responsible for. And if they don't do this, you can come later. You said, oh, you broke my window, you scratched my car, and so on. So some people do this. And I have seen one of the examples that there was one car which intentionally, don't tell me how did I know, intentionally had an accident with another car just because they had an accident initially and they were responsible for that accident, so they need to fix their car. So they intentionally did another accident. However, they were just waiting for another car to pass by, and they came in front of that car so that it hits them, and it hits them in a place which was very close to that first accident. And what happened is that the car which hit them actually did not hit them exactly at that place. And because of that, that person who came out of the car very angrily, and he's saying that you destroyed my car, and then he's pointing to some places in his car that has nothing to do with the second accident, because he was pointing to the back of the car, things that are not related at all to the second accident. So why did they do this? They did this because there was no proof that that happened because of the first accident and so on. What I just wanted to mention that check sheets do help. I took you to another example that has nothing to do with check sheets, but just to show you that it is important for a check sheet to put marks, and it helps organize things. Check sheets, it could be like that, and you can see this in the shifts. Oh, and these shifts, when I'm talking about, for example, you go to a restaurant, and on the restaurant you find a kind of a sheet on the door, and the door, it shows how many times from 8, 9, 10, 11, how many times it had been cleaned. So from 8 to 9 it had been cleaned twice, from 9 to 10 it had been cleaned twice, 10 it had been cleaned once, 11 it had been cleaned once. So it tells you how many times that things that had been cleaned, for example, within the restaurant. It could be used for cleaning, it could be used for the defect type, how many defects I have. Okay, within my first shift. In my second shift, how many defects do I have? In my third shift, I had only one defect, and fourth shift, I had 3 defects. It's just a check sheet, right? You can use it in many different examples. And you already know this kind of counting. Well, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the cross. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is 11. And this is a very nice way of calculating things, rather than writing 1, 2, 3, or you have one more, or even if you count like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if you want to count this, your head is going to get daisy because it's very confusing. You cannot see the lines separated. So this is the way that is used for check sheets. I'm explaining these things quickly because they are trivial. You already know them. So that is related to the check sheet. Now, talking about checklist, we already gave you an example of a checklist in the DTEB. I think so. I gave an example. I'm not sure. Where was my example of the checklist? Oh, that is another process for tendering. That is another process, and it's written here. They use a checklist for tendering process, which is checklist 03. The number is 03. I'm not sure if I have them or not. If I have them, is good. I don't have the full document here. The reason that I use this for training, I don't. It's not my main document. Okay, so what do I have here? A checklist. Let me put checklist هنا يمكن يطلع لي. Okay, audit checklist, internal audit checklist. So we have a lot of stuff here that we can open. So that is an internal audit checklist. I think this is the internal audit checklist procedure. Yes, it is the internal audit checklist procedure, but this is a big checklist. Okay, so it is like a checklist used by the internal auditor, and the internal auditor, they're going to tick the places where they found out that it is available or not available, and they put remarks. So here, for example, it says, does the training management create the conditions required to enable the policy and objectives to be fulfilled? That means that does the training management put what exactly as a plan? What do they need for training or not? So they're going to put yes, they have a plan, or they don't have a plan, they don't have a strategy for training, and then you're going to put your marks. So that is kind of a checklist. Let's see what else do we have. We have number 7 here, approved supplier list checklist. هاي اللي فتحتها مساعة. Okay, that's the one that I opened. So that is a checklist, as you can see. All of these are checklists, they're not check sheets. يعني check sheets are a little different from checklist. يعني, but I don't have a check sheet here that I can show it to you. Let me check. Maybe I will find something. Training. Okay, I couldn't find what I want exactly. I'm searching for something. Never mind. That is the check sheet. I think so. It's good enough. It's very clear. I don't need to show examples, and it's very clear and obvious. So we have taken the process maps, the flow charts, and the check sheets. So these are the two different QC tools that we have taken today. We have other QC tools. We are going to continue, but I don't want to take cause and effect diagram because cause and effect diagram is going to take some time, and we are going to take a real life example. So I don't want to take it now. I want to keep it for another time. Do you have any question? ما عندكم ولا سؤال؟ Okay. It's good that things are clear, يعني. And if things are clear, let me get one of my tools that I can explain very quickly. So I'm going to jump the cause and effect diagram, and I'm going to take another tool because it is very simple and you already know it. I'm just making use of my time. Okay, so one of the tools they already know, and I don't know why I'm explaining it, but I need to explain the 7 QC tools, right? It's called the scatter diagram. The scatter diagram, all of you know this, right? You have a Y and X axis and data scattered, and then you fit a line. And this fitting could be linear or non-linear. I know this is very trivial. It's like for all of us, and Doctor, we know this. And so the only thing that I can add through this is these 5 different criterion or elements that would help you to discuss and analyze that kind of a figure that you have here. And here we always start talking about 2 dimensions only 2 dimensions. In business, they may go to higher dimensions, but it becomes more complicated. So we don't have 10 dimensions in which we want to see the most effective dimension analysis to reduce it to a 2-dimension and find out the main variables and so on. So we don't want to do this. We are not into now the advanced statistical tools. We want to say very simply, if I have a line and it's not an exact line, but we have a figure that goes like that, for example. There are 5 different points that you need to consider. What are these points? Number 1 is the target. If you put a scatter diagram in a company, you need to consider that you have a target. If you just show me a line without a target, it means nothing for me. It doesn't mean anything for me. So I need to show a line that has a target. So are you really finding a kind of a relationship here between Y and X? It could be a relationship. But if you're talking about cost and profit, which is mostly the case in many business firms, what is the minimal cost? Like I'm looking at this figure to say that the cost is increasing as X is increasing. What is it? Why it is important to know this? Because I want to get to a target where I want to reduce my cost. So the target is always in our head, and we need to put it as a benchmark line just to say that this is our target and this is what we are trying to achieve. So again, what is the whole story of this? The whole story is that when I have a line of how it is changing, I want to make sure that I have a target. Again, an example. If I want to increase the profit of my business firm, and this is January These are the months: February, March, and this is December, and then January again. And let's say this is 2021, and this is Feb 2021. And you're saying that I want to achieve a 1 million dinars by 2021. And here, for example, you discover that because you had a target very clearly stated, you discover that by January 2021, you did not achieve a target, and you may have less profit for some reason. And this is where you start you start analyzing and saying, why do I have less profit? So the targets is one thing. The second thing we want to talk about here for scatter diagram is the trend. So what is the trend? Is it going up or going down? I think so. This is fair explanation, and it's straightforward. For the figure that we can see in front of us, that we can see the trend is going up. So the trend is going like that. If we had another figure, which was a straight figure, as just a straight line from the left to the right, it does not tell me that there's any trend. So at least I know that there isn't any trend. But the trend gives me a good indication for analysis. If my profits are going up, that is a trend. And that is something good to consider, because if it was going down, that had been a disaster. Or if I see that the number of complaints is going high and I can see the trend is going up. So the trend is another thing that we need to consider. For example, how many students are graduating at University of Bahrain? Is the trend going up or the trend going down? Okay. When I say how many graduates, is very tricky, and this is how we present it in newspapers. We always try to be tricky in how to present things. If we say that how many students graduate from University of Bahrain per 1,000 students. But when I say per 1,000, that means I'm doing some kind of normalization. And this normalization, it helps because I can compare 1 year to another year. So I can compare from 2000 till today. But if I don't put this per 1,000, if I don't do any normalization, I cannot compare 2000 to 2020, because in 2000 we had about 5,000 students, and today we are talking about we are having about 30,000 students. So 5,000 is not comparable to 30,000. In other words, if I talk about 5,000, for example, I have 500 graduates per year. If you come to 2020, we have, mashallah, 2,000 graduates per year. And we are very happy. For example, we are saying that in newspaper, our graduates are increasing and we are very happy. This is very tricky. Why? Because actually the higher number of graduates is not because that you're producing better graduates or producing more graduates because students are finishing within 4 years. But the reason is that because your enrollment is increasing, you're having higher number of graduates. So we need to be careful about also trends of how we represent them. Now, these are the two T's. The two C's, they are called causality and comparability. Causality and comparability, يعني شنو? What is the reason why it is going up? Okay, so the word why the trend is going up. Why are we not achieving the targets? Why is my profits slope is very low, يعني? Why I'm having less production? So it's all the word why to find out the causes, and the word the causality comes from causes. So we want to know why. And then we come to the comparability. Well, I'm doing a low profit in comparing to other business firms like me. Are they also having lower profit because of the Corona period or not? So for example, at school, in one of the schools that I'm sitting at, and for example, I said for example because I'm not sure if I want to say the numbers or not. It's 875,000. I'll not say numbers, خلاص. So the profit is going up, and now the profit is going up. We are making. Let me put another figure. Sorry for this, يعني, because it just becomes very crowdy and it's not helping me to say what I want. So this is the figure that I have. And I can see that my profit for 2020 it was like that. And of course, this is let me think of how I'm going to present this, because I cannot present it with time. The reason is that for schools, you have 2 times where you pay. So you have 2 peaks if you want to show that with time. But it's better to show per year. Yani for example, 2010, 2011, 12, 13, till 2021. And then you show how you are having better profit like that, 14, 15, and then going little down, and then it went up. And 2021, to be honest with you, it went like that. Actually, it's even less. It went like that for many schools in Bahrain. And then when you say that, well, the trend is going down, why it is going down? Of course, Corona period has a big effect of going down. Now, if I want to compare to other schools, and this is where the word comparability comes in. If I want to compare with other schools, I could discover that with other schools that it is comparable and people are also losing a profit. Okay, what happened here? Okay, so I see another school. Well, it's also going down. I see a third school, and I found out that their third school, it had no decrease in the profit. And then I say, well, now I'm comparing. It sounds okay here, but when I compare with this school, I found out that it's different. And then you ask yourself why. And when we asked why, I'm just talking about a real example, we found out that they sacked طردوا then about 20 employees just to save their money. And this is why they had the profit did not change, because you have about in schools 10% of the students left schools and they want to government schools because they don't want to pay for online, and they think that the online is not effective, so they don't want to pay 3,000 or 2,000 per year. So that is the idea of what we have mentioned about the comparability. The last part is the scope. I already passed 3 minutes. The last part is the scope. It means that what is the limits of your diagram? You're talking about what? Are you talking about the profit only, or you're talking about more than the profit? You're talking about the environment as well. So what is your scope? Do you want us to say why in terms of environment, or in terms of money, or in terms of people, or just money? So if you're going to talk only about money, if that is our scope, then we can do a comparability based only on profit. But if you want to increase the scope to other reasons, we can then do another kind of comparability. Okay, so the scope helps us to go to the details of the why, if it's going to be limited only to the profit, or is going to be added. We have another variable related to values, or we have even a third variable related to space, a space of the school, for example. So what is the scope? Is our scope talking about only boys' schools, or also we want to talk about the boys and the girls' schools? So what is the scope? Is our scope talking about only the students of first year, or we are talking about all of the students at University of Bahrain? Is our scope talking about only the graduate students who are graduating, or we want to talk about certain students? We have a high failure in chemical engineering department. Is our scope talking about only the students who are failing in CHENG460, or we want to talk about generally failure at chemical engineering department? When you put a scope, your comparability becomes easier, your causality becomes easier. You can really define things more specifically and more understandable. And this is where the scope comes into being. And that's all. I think so. You already know the story of positive and negative relationship. I'm not going to explain this. Next time, we are going to take the cause and effect diagram after the break, and we are going to take the control charts, inshallah, all after the break. يعطيكم العافية. Any questions? Great, and enjoy your إجازة. Enjoy your holidays, the 1 week break. يعطيكم العافية وبالتوفيق. مع السلامة.